Welcome, travelers, to Mythic Mundi. We explore the crossroads of history, science, and the unexplained. Today, we journey to the vast, remote wilderness of Siberia, to a day when the very sky seemed to fall. Imagine this. It is the morning of June 30th, 1908. The world is on the cusp of change, but here, in the isolated taiga near the Podkamenia Tunguska River, life is as it has been for centuries. The Evenki people are herding their reindeer. Russian settlers are at their trading posts. The sun is rising just like any other summer morning. And then it happens. Witnesses over 1,000 kilometers away would later describe it, a column of brilliant blue-white light, brighter than the sun itself, tearing across the dawn sky. To those closer, at the Vanavara trading post, the heat was immediate and terrifying. One local, Seaman Semyonov, was sitting on his porch. He reported seeing the sky split in two. A great fire appeared, covering the entire northern part of the sky. The heat was so intense, he said, as if my shirt was on fire. He was thrown from his chair, the sound arriving seconds later, a deafening roar, a mighty crash, as if the earth itself was breaking apart. This was not thunder. This was something new. For hundreds of square kilometers, the ground shook. Windows shattered in towns 600 kilometers away. The sound wave traveled twice around the entire planet. For the next several nights, the skies over Europe and Asia glowed with an eerie light, so bright that people in London could read newspapers outdoors at midnight. But in the remote heart of Siberia, there was silence. The area was so sparsely populated, so incredibly difficult to reach, that the outside world had no idea what had truly occurred. They saw the effects, the shaking ground, the glowing skies, but the cause remained a mystery. What happened in that isolated forest? In the immediate vicinity of the blast, an estimated 80 million trees across more than 2,100 square kilometers, an area larger than modern-day London, were flattened. They fell outwards from a central point, their massive trunks snapped like twigs. Yet strangely, at the very epicenter, a cluster of trees remained standing, though they were stripped bare of their branches and scorched by the intense heat. They stood like skeletal telegraph poles, a silent testament to an incredible force. The local Evenki people spoke of a god, Ogdi, who had descended in fire to curse the area. They refused to go near it, believing the land to be haunted. The world outside was busy. Russia would soon be consumed by war and revolution. The mystery of Tunguska would have to wait. It would be almost 2 decades before the first scientific expedition dared to enter this scorched, silent land, searching for answers. What they found, and more importantly, what they didn't find, would only deepen the enigma. And that is where our story truly begins. The Tunguska event was a mystery wrapped in isolation. For 13 years, the world moved on. The First World War redrew the maps of Europe. The Russian Revolution toppled an empire. In this new, chaotic world, who had time to investigate a strange light in a remote, frozen wilderness? The stories of the Evenki people, of a fire god named Ogdi descending from the sky and destroying their herds, were dismissed as local superstition. The land was considered cursed. The world had forgotten. But one man had not. His name was Leonid Kulik. He was not a mystic or a treasure hunter. He was a scientist, a mineralogist for the new Soviet government. And he was, above all, a man of intense curiosity and determination. Kulik had heard the scattered reports from 1908, but he wasn't looking for a mystery. He was looking for iron. In the early 1920s, Kulik was tasked with finding meteorites. To the young Soviet Union, a massive iron meteorite would be a priceless resource, a gift from the heavens for their growing industry. Kulik read the old newspaper accounts of the 1908 blast and became convinced that a colossal iron meteorite had struck the Earth in Siberia. But convincing the new government to fund an expedition into one of the most inaccessible places on Earth was a monumental task. It took him years. Finally, in 1921, he was sent on a preliminary survey. But it wasn't until 1927, 19 years after the event, that Leonid Kulik led the first true scientific expedition into the Tunguska zone. We must understand what this journey entailed. This was not a simple trip. It was an ordeal. Kulik and his team traveled months by the Trans-Siberian Railway, then by rickety boats up the Podkamennaya-Tunguska River, pushing against the current. And then, the boats could go no further. The rest of the journey was by foot and on horseback, guided by local Evenki men through a punishing landscape of swamps, thick forests, and clouds of mosquitoes. This was the taiga, a land of extremes. The local guides were terrified. This was the land of Ogdi. They warned Kulik that anyone who disturbed the area would be cursed. They spoke of a strange sickness that afflicted the reindeer. But Kulik, the man of science, was undeterred. He was driven by a single powerful idea. He was going to find the crater. In the spring of 1927, after weeks of travel, they finally broke through the tree line, and Kulik stood staring at a scene of impossible devastation. It was a silent, scorched graveyard. For as far as the eye could see, in every direction, the forest was gone. An estimated 80 million trees were lying on the ground, all pointing in the same direction, away from a single, central point. The blast pattern was enormous, covering more than 2,000 square kilometers. Kulik's team mapping the area noted it looked like a giant flattened butterfly, with two wings of destruction spreading out from a central body. This was not a forest fire. This was not random. This was a single directional, incomprehensible force. But the strangest sight was yet to come. As they cautiously marched toward the center, the ground zero of the blast, the pattern changed. The flattened trees gave way to a small, eerie grove. Here, the trees were still standing. They were standing, but they were dead. Gigantic, scorched trunks, stripped bare of every branch, every leaf. They stood like a forest of skeletal telegraph poles, silent witnesses to the moment the sky had exploded. Kulik, the scientist, understood immediately. The blast had not come from the side. It had come from above. The wave of pressure had pushed straight down, snapping the branches, but not toppling the trunks. This confirmed it for him. The meteorite must have struck here, plunging deep into the soft, swampy earth. Now, all he had to do was find it.
This began the second and perhaps most tragic phase of Kulik's life, the Great Disappointment. He returned again and again, in 1928, in 1929. He brought drilling equipment. He brought digging crews. He was meticulous, obsessive. He was a man possessed by a single question: where is the impactor? He drained bogs, believing the meteorite was hidden beneath the water. He drilled into the permafrost. He analyzed the soil. And he found nothing. No crater, no impact hole, not a single definitive piece of the object that had caused this global event. He found microscopic silicate and magnetite spheres, which could have been from a meteorite, but they could have also been from Earth's own volcanic activity. There was no smoking gun. Kulik's frustration grew. The local Evenki must have thought him mad, this man from Moscow digging holes in their cursed land. Leonid Kulik would never find his answer. His search was cut short by another global catastrophe, World War II. He joined the Soviet military to defend his country and tragically died in a German prisoner of war camp in 1942. He died, his great mystery unsolved. Kulik's obsession had given the world the first true look at the Tunguska Enigma, but his search had only deepened the central paradox. How can you have the single largest explosion in modern history and leave no trace of the cause? The forest held no crater. The ground held no iron. The mystery had to be solved not by looking down, but by looking up.
Kulik died believing an iron meteorite was still buried in the taiga, but science, in the decades that followed, began to point to a different and perhaps more frightening conclusion. The reason Kulik found no crater is because there was no crater. The object, whatever it was, did not hit the ground. It exploded in the atmosphere. This is the air burst theory, and it is the scientific consensus today. We now understand that as an object from space enters our atmosphere at incredible speed, tens of thousands of kilometers per hour, the pressure and friction build to unimaginable levels. The object doesn't just burn, it can detonate with the force of a nuclear weapon, all without a single ounce of radioactive material. This air-burst model, occurring 5 to 10 kilometers above the ground, explains everything Kulik saw. It explains the butterfly blast pattern. It explains the scorched telegraph pole trees at the epicenter, which were directly under the explosion. And most importantly, it explains the complete lack of an impact crater. The energy was released in the sky, not in the ground. So the mystery changed. It was no longer, where is the crater? It became, what exploded? There are two primary candidates. Candidate 1, the asteroid. This is the leading hypothesis. A stony asteroid, perhaps 50 to 100 meters wide, entered the atmosphere at a shallow angle. It was dense and solid, but it could not withstand the immense atmospheric stress. It compressed the air in front of it into a superheated plasma, and then, in a fraction of a second, it disintegrated. The energy release was estimated to be 10 to 15 megatons, 1,000 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Candidate 2, the comet. This is an equally compelling theory. A comet is not a solid rock. It's a dirty snowball, a loose collection of ice, dust, and frozen gases. A comet is much more fragile than an asteroid. It would easily and completely vaporize upon entering the atmosphere.
This theory has a poetic neatness to it. A vaporized ice ball would leave no fragments for Kulik to find, and the massive amount of ice and dust thrown into the upper atmosphere could also explain the glowing skies, the bright nights reported over Europe and Asia for days after the event. The sun's light was scattering off this new, high-altitude cloud of cometary dust. The science points to one of these two natural cosmic visitors, but in the long years of silence, with no clear answers, the Tunguska Enigma became a magnet for other, more exotic speculation. This is the Mythic Mundi corner, where we look at the legends that grow in the shadows of a great mystery. It is important to state that these ideas are not supported by evidence, but they have become a fascinating part of the Tunguska story. With no crater and no fragments, some looked for answers not in nature, but in science fiction. Could it have been a piece of antimatter annihilating on contact with our atmosphere? A compelling idea, but one that would have released a very specific and massive gamma-ray signature, which was not detected. Could it have been a micro-black hole, a tiny, dense object that passed straight through the Earth and out the other side? A dramatic theory, but one that scientists agree leaves no known mechanism for the observed explosion. And then there is the most persistent legend, that this was not a natural event at all, but a man-made one. Some have pointed to the work of the brilliant and equally enigmatic inventor, Nikola Tesla. At the time, Tesla was working on his Wardenclyffe Tower, a device he claimed could transmit power wirelessly across the globe. The legend suggests that Tesla, in a dangerous experiment, intentionally or accidentally directed a beam of energy at this remote part of Siberia. It is a thrilling story, worthy of a movie, but that is what it remains, a story. The timing, the location, and the sheer, almost unimaginable scale of the energy released at Tunguska simply do not align with any known human technology, then or even now. It remains a compelling piece of 20th century folklore, but not a scientific explanation. The true legacy of Tunguska is not in these legends, but in the terrifying reality it revealed. For over a century, it was a one-of-a-kind, almost mythical event, until 2013. On the morning of February 15th, 2013, a brilliant fireball tore across the sky over Chelyabinsk, Russia. It exploded in the atmosphere, creating a shockwave that shattered windows in thousands of buildings, injuring over 1,500 people, mostly from flying glass. The Chelyabinsk event was a tiny airburst, a fraction of the size of Tunguska, and it happened over a populated city. Suddenly, Tunguska was no longer a historical curiosity. It was a warning. It was a preview. The Chelyabinsk event proved the airburst model was correct, and it proved that these events are not a question of if, but a question of when. Tunguska is the reason that today, space agencies around the world collaborate on planetary defense. We now have sophisticated systems to scan the skies to find and track these near-Earth objects, or NEOs. The great mystery that Leonid Kulik hunted in the swamps of Siberia has transformed. It is no longer a regional puzzle. It is a global imperative. The event reminds us that we live on a beautiful blue planet, but one that drifts through a dynamic and sometimes challenging cosmic neighborhood. The Tunguska event remains the most powerful natural impact our planet has witnessed in recorded history. A day the sky fell, leaving a silent, flattened forest and a mystery that endured for a century. It reminds us that we live on a planet moving through a dynamic and sometimes challenging cosmic neighborhood. But the universe is full of mysteries, and Mythic Mundi is here to explore them. What story, what myth, or what historical enigma would you like us to investigate next? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, please help our channel grow. Don't forget to press that like button, subscribe for more journeys, and leave a comment. It truly helps us bring these stories to light. Until next time, stay curious.